They call it Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
We have some really beautiful burgers in the real world. We have Big Macs and Whoppers and Whataburgers and In-N-Out Double Doubles and Wendy's Baconators. We have burgers made of beef, both minced and in steak form, and chicken. And we have burgers with ketchup or mayo or chipotle sauce or nacho cheese on top. So the burgers in the real world are doing just fine. But there are also some pretty gorgeous burgers to be found on the silver screen too. Here are the top 10 movie burgers that we would love to try.
Each bite is better than the previous bite.
Harold and Kumar's Mountain of White Castle Burgers.
I want the perfect food.
Are you hungry?
What's great about the Harold and Kumar series of stoner comedy movies is that they are more than just a bunch of wacky and absurd gags based around getting high and angering rednecks. There are some great satirical moments about the racism and racial tensions in America in these movies.
So, what are you in here for?
For being black.
Harold is an Asian guy, and Kumar is an Asian guy, and they are shown to be so much more than that in the movies. They are stoners, sure, but Harold is a committed and hardworking and lovely guy, and Kumar is a gifted medical mind. The first film sees the two lead characters facing racists head-on. The second one opens with a bunch of white people being terrified by them as they attempt to fly to Amsterdam. Kumar is selected for a random drug search by TSA agents, and then the other passengers assume them to be terrorists based on their race. The beautiful thing about the movies is that they don't just use racism as fodder for dumb jokes. They comment on it in an insightful way. The first movie revolves around these two guys' quest to quench their munchies by getting down to White Castle to take advantage of a deal they have on mountains of burgers.
You guys had some night, huh?
I want 30 sliders, 5 french fries, and 4 large cherry cokes.
I want the same.
When they finally get there, they eat like 30 of them. Yum. Before our next movie burger moment, take a second to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell to join our notification squad.
Is this your bush? You have a special bond with this bush? Is this your special bush?
Carl's Jr. Burgers from This Is the End.
Oh, God.
At the beginning of this apocalyptic comedy, Seth Rogen, playing himself, picks up Jay Baruchel, playing himself, at LAX. As they're leaving the parking lot, Jay asks Seth if they can go to Carl's Jr., but Seth begins to explain that he is currently on a cleanse.
What? It's good for you.
He says that not eating gluten will make Jay feel like a whole new version of himself. He claims that every time you feel kind of crummy, it's all gluten's fault. Jay fires right back though, demanding to know who told Seth all of this, because he's pretty sure Seth doesn't even know what gluten is.
Somebody just told you you probably shouldn't eat gluten. You're like, oh, I guess I shouldn't eat gluten.
Seth says,
I do know what gluten is. Gluten's a vague term.
They continue this kind of back and forth for a while. Then, cut to Seth and Jay sitting in the parking lot of a Carl's Jr., feasting on the greasiest, juiciest looking burger that you've ever seen. Seth declares each bite is better than the previous bite, and then at the top of his lungs he cries out,
Gluten!
Don't we all need a moment of food freedom like that sometimes?
You order a sandwich, somebody put that together for you, dude. That's art.
Sandwich artist.
Chili pepper burger from Dumb and Dumber.
Still want it?
Nah, you go ahead.
The Farrelly Brothers' 1994 screwball comedy starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels is easily one of the funniest movies ever made. Every gag lands, and there are laughs in pretty much every line. There isn't a scene in the whole movie without something memorable. Even small details like when Harry says,
She sends me a John Deere letter.
make it one of the most consistently hilarious movies of all time.
There's 2 of them. One of them's got a gun. Did you pay the gas bill?
It also has one of the greatest burger moments in movie history. Fans of spicy food will definitely want to try the burger that killed the mob enforcer who went after Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn. Without realizing that the strange man they had picked up from the side of the road has a serious heart condition, Lloyd and Harry load up his burger with chili peppers while he's in the bathroom as a prank. Then he comes back, takes one bite, and starts to die. At first, Lloyd and Harry laugh at him, thinking their prank worked wonderfully. Then they realize that he's dying and give him what they think are his meds, but are actually the pellets of rat poison that he was planning to murder them with. It's a classic comic misunderstanding.
That's great.
We landed on the moon!
Mr. Smiley's from American Beauty.
Actually, I'd like to fill out an application. I'm looking for the least possible amount of responsibility.
Part of Lester Burnham's midlife crisis in this movie involves leaving his job with a lovely bit of hush money thanks to some blackmail. The means that he uses to blackmail his boss are rough to rewatch in these days of the Me Too movement, since they involve false allegations of sexual harassment being made by none other than Kevin Spacey.
I'm just an ordinary guy with nothing to lose.
But that's just the catalyst that gets us to the burger restaurant. In Lester's mind, the last time that he was truly happy was when he was 18 years old and the world was his oyster and he didn't have any responsibilities and he had his whole life ahead of him.
When I was your age, I flipped burgers all summer just to be able to buy an 8-track.
That sucks.
He remembers the job that he had flipping burgers at this time in his life, and so he decides to reclaim his youth by getting a job flipping burgers for the fast food restaurant Mr. Smiley's. It is working the drive-thru at this restaurant that leads him to discover that his wife is having an affair with another man. They pull up to the window, and there he is to catch them red-handed. He doesn't mind too much because his marriage has already begun to fall apart, but the burger looks pretty delicious.
Lester, you're gonna spill beer on the couch.
So what? It's just a couch.
Hamburger with Ed's secret sauce from Good Burger.
One more good shake. Good, good. Keep them coming. Dude, don't you think you've had enough?
This movie was based on a comedy sketch, and expanding a comedy sketch into a feature-length film does not always work out. But it worked for Wayne and Garth, and it worked for Dexter and Ed. This was not particularly well received by critics when it was initially released, but thanks to its popular stars Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, who were already well known for their Nickelodeon show, it was hugely popular with audiences. In the years since the movie first came out, it has become a cult classic.
Better watch your butt, man. Okay.
A Rotten Tomatoes contributing writer wrote that the movie obviously connected with a lot of children at the time of the film's release and holds up surprisingly well 18 years later. According to Mental Floss, it is a silly cult hit that's indelibly a part of Generation Y. Another critic predicted that the 90s generation will never forget this deliciously terrible movie.
I give up. There is no way a guy can watch his own butt. Ugh.
And it has been shown to be true. It means a lot to a lot of people. The whole movie is about burgers, and the crux of the plot is that the Ed character makes a hugely successful burger using his own secret sauce. This secret sauce is what makes the burger delicious and is therefore the whole reason why anyone who loves burgers would want to try it. Sadly, it exists only on the silver screen.
Dexter's a chicken. Chicken. Moo. Moo.
Animated Van Halen hamburger from Better Off Dead.
Where you going?
I'm gonna go wash my hands. I got a mold and packed.
You wash your hands on your own time.
In one of the most surreal scenes in the history of cinema, a hamburger comes to life and starts belting out a hard rock classic by the beloved band Van Halen. So few scenes can make you laugh hysterically, be weirded out in the WTF variety, bang your head to rock and roll music, and crave a hamburger all at once, but this scene manages it. This movie is not your typical teen Hollywood rom-com. It stars John Cusack as a teenager who is so obsessed with his girlfriend that when she breaks up with him, he decides to kill himself. When he fails to kill himself, in typical 80s movie fashion, he decides to challenge his ex's new lover on the ski slopes.
Buenos dias!
It doesn't exactly scream mass appeal or fun time at the movies, but that's just the thing. It's a great movie that is hilarious and enjoyable and very, very fun.
I cannot do it with your middle name. Come, help me push this into the garage.
Okay.
That is exemplified in this scene, in which a generic fast food hamburger comes to life and starts playing Van Halen's Everybody Wants Some. It's super weird, but then so are a lot of the most memorable moments throughout movie history.
I want my $2!
The cow tipper from Clerks II.
You can drive a grown-up car.
But when you ride the go-kart, you somehow feel better about yourself.
Many fans rejoiced when Kevin Smith returned to the Quick Stop to continue the adventures of Dante and Randall, the two bantering 20-something burnouts who he had introduced previously in his black and white film debut. That movie made a huge splash in 1994 when it got into Sundance, became one of the most successful indie films of all time, effectively set into motion a whole new wave of indie cinema, and oozed a sense of regional and cultural identity in its quintessentially New Jersey and Gen X dialogue.
What handicap? That guy's just in a wheelchair. It's not like he's Anne Frank or something.
When he decided to make a sequel, he took his characters out of their dead-end jobs at the Quick Stop and the video store next door, and took them out of their black and white film stock too, and put them into dead-end jobs at a fast food restaurant in glorious color. One of the fictional burgers sold by the restaurant Movies is the Cow Tipper. The ad describes the Cow Tipper as a pile of meat. It's 4 beef patties separated by 5 pieces of bun. It weighs 6 pounds, and it can be yours for just $3.95. According to the poster, saddle up to the meanest pile of meat this side of the Rio Grande. That sounds tasty.
I don't think these look right. Jesus, step away from the fire before you burn us all alive.
Whammy Burger from Falling Down.
Rick, could I have my breakfast, please?
Yes, sir. Sheila?
In this brilliantly satirical scene, Michael Douglas perfectly encapsulates the frustration of trying to order a breakfast meal at a fast food restaurant just moments after they have stopped serving breakfast.
We stopped serving breakfast at 11:30.
The movie as a whole has been criticized as feeding, no pun intended, into the angry white man subgenre of fiction, though others argue that his angers at the minutiae of daily life are just as relatable as angers at the more pressing, wider social issues like climate change and police brutality. Douglas becomes so infuriated with the staff's refusal to make him a breakfast meal a couple of minutes after their company policy has told them to stop serving it that he ends up taking out a gun and forcing them to make him a Whammy Burger at gunpoint. When they make him his burger, he then complains that the Whammy Burger as advertised on the billboards and on the menu behind the counter looks like a big, thick, plump, juicy, beautiful burger, and what you get is a pathetic, sad-looking, squashed piece of matter.
Can anybody tell me what's wrong with this picture? Anybody?
The Whammy Burger might be fictional, but whether it's in McDonald's or Burger King or Subway, we have all felt Douglas's frustration in this scene at some point in our lives.
I knew it. See? I knew it was fine.
The Clogger from the Simpsons Movie.
Hey, Marge. Isn't it great being married to someone who's recklessly impulsive?
Krusty the Clown's fast food chain Krusty Burger was made iconic by Matt Groening's long-running TV series, but it was the movie adaptation that gave us its most heart-stopping and calorific creation.
Hey, it's your old pal Krusty for my new pork sandwich, the Clogger.
It is fittingly called the Clogger, named after the fact that it will clog up your arteries and eventually kill you. The pig, who has been known at different times by the names Spider Pig and Harry Plopper, and became a meme after the release of the movie, came to Homer after being used by Krusty in a commercial for this sandwich. Krusty takes a bite out of it for the sake of the commercial, but refuses to swallow it, and as soon as the director has called cut and the cameras have stopped rolling, he spits it out. Krusty is infamous for endorsing his own products to make an easy buck and then avoiding them like the plague. It's a surprise that he even agreed to put that thing in his mouth, but it's not a surprise that he spat it out right after. If you were feeling lucky, it might be fun to try this burger.
A crisis so serious it has its own name and theme music.
Big Kahuna Burger from Pulp Fiction.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
This scene from Quentin Tarantino's Oscar-winning masterpiece simply has no competition for the title of the greatest burger scene in movie history. Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta have gone over to these guys' apartment where they intimidate them over a debt that they owe to their boss, crime lord Marcellus Wallace. And what better way to intimidate them than for Jackson to take a bite out of one of their burgers and a sip of one of their drinks, which he uses to wash the burger down. The fact that Jackson takes a big, greasy bite of a burger in the middle of this typical gangster movie situation undercuts the whole tension of the scene and establishes the tone of the film.
This is a tasty burger.
This is the cool, rock and roll gangster flick that oozes pop culture and defines the American society of the 90s. Guns, profanity, rock music, and fast food. The burger that Sam Jackson takes a bite out of isn't a Big Mac or a Whopper. It's a Big Kahuna burger, because Tarantino doesn't do product placement. Instead, he makes up his own brands: Red Apple cigarettes, Jack Rabbit Slims, teriyaki donuts, and, of course, Big Kahuna burger.
Don't you just love it when you come back from the bathroom to find your food waiting for you?
While we try to get our own Babble Burger brand, you don't have to go anywhere to get more great videos. Stay right here and just click. You can also now become an official Babble Topper. Click on the join link in the description below to find out more.